Well, you might just be able to hear the sound of the church bells. This is Carl Munson with the Good Morning Portugal live stream. It's 9 o'clock on the 25th of March, and every weekday morning at 9, we bring you we begin with a factual update of what's going on in Portugal with the COVID-19 coronavirus situation. And then my intention is to make this platform available to people who want to check in or share from their part of Portugal. So please do that in due course. I think that service will become more useful as time progresses. We'll be going to the excellent work of Craig Morfitt again, and I know that there is another service that's emerged as well. So lots of people rising to the occasion as far as information goes. Let's begin, as we normally do, with the overall situation from the Health Department, the DGS, and look at the numbers across the country at the moment. And I noticed that cases confirmed are now broken down into smaller numbers. So this might be useful for people who want to know what's going on in their local area. And you can see there where I'm scrolling, 175 confirmed cases in Lisbon, 126 in Porto. And you'll see on the left, the concentrations of cases. And then in this breakdown by Concelho, the more local breakdown, you'll probably be able to find your own region there now, which may or may not be useful to you. But I think it's better to have that information available if you do want to look. And of course, we have to balance our intake of information at the moment and be careful not to upset ourselves too much on the one hand, but also be informed and aware on the other hand. And as you'll see on the left there, there are now 2,362 confirmed cases in Portugal. 22 people, thankfully, mercifully have recovered, and there are now 33 deaths. 15,000, nearly 15,500 suspected cases, however. So and over on the right there, 48 people in ICU situations in intensive care. So let's have a look at Craig's really excellent update. This came out of nowhere, really, into a expat community site, and he's put together a really good set of information. And let me see. I may have scrolled away from it, but yeah, I've got it now. Craig Morfitt, excuse me, is the man's name. And excuse me, need to cough. Nothing serious. It's not a dry one. Isn't it crazy at the moment? Anytime anyone coughs, you think, oh, move away. Anytime someone touches their face. These are the times we're living in. But let me just find Craig's info for you. I've located it now. Porto Expats is where he tends to share, and there's a public group, so you can join that and get this direct yourself. I do cross-post it into Good Morning Portugal as well. Before I go, let me just say, good morning to you, Barbara. Good morning, Paul. Bon dia to you, Paul. And hello, Stephanie, as well. Thank you so much for joining me. And as I said before, do please make this a place where you can join me on the screen, an update from your area, or just if you feel more comfortable, post information about your area in the comments, and I'll share that on the screen. And I think we're moving to a point where there may be requests for help and support or questions that need answering. On my screen, you saw earlier on, the helpline is, of course, 808 24 24 24. Worth writing that down somewhere if you become concerned about symptoms and you need help. And there is an English speaking option, which is number 5. It was number 9. It's now number 5. So let's have a look at Craig's update here. This was yesterday, 18 hours ago, so the numbers have changed. And he was remarking there, as well as saying there were 1,800 additional people tested for the virus yesterday, the 24th. The numbers are a very promising sign, as the actual number of daily cases is less than yesterday, and the percentage growth rate is significantly lower than it has been recently. Isn't that great? Whilst today's chart gives us reason to hope, it's too early to draw any conclusions, of course. Let us see what tomorrow brings. And as an indicator of how quickly the numbers can change, 1 week ago, 17th of March, we had a total of 448 confirmed cases and only 1 death. So yeah, we have to keep an open mind, as well as keep washing our hands and staying in isolation, etc., and staying in lockdown. And as my friend who really alerted me to the seriousness of this said yesterday, with this whole business of people being quite offended, certainly in my native UK, about being made to stay at home and complaining that it was a dictatorship. He said, don't be so basically effing ignorant that you have to be dictated to, which I think is a really good point. You know, there comes a point where sometimes people are needing to be dictated to for their own health and well-being, and certainly the health and well-being of others. But anyway, sorry, I digress. I'm trying to keep the first part of the show factual, but I thought it was worth mentioning that. Several stories from Craig in his news roundup. The government has moved to protect those whose leases, residential and non-residential, are due to expire within the next 3 months. Acknowledging that this is not the time to be going out looking for new homes, all leases will now be extended until the 30th of June. That's an extraordinary move, isn't it? It shows you what governments can do when they need to. And if you want to go deeper into any of these stories, I'm not going to read them all. I'm not going to read all of Craig's posts, but I just want to give you a sense of what's going on, because it's a really good roundup that he provides. But all the links are there. So this is in Porto Expats. It's also in the Good Morning Portugal page on Facebook. A 60 million euro line of credit has been approved to provide interest-free loans to micro businesses in the tourism sector. Such loans would enable monthly payments of 750 euros per employee over a period of 3 months. The loans can be repaid over a period of 3 years. I might come back to that afterwards, and this thing about tourism. But anyway, let's stay with the factual stuff, the more factual end of things, and less of the opinion. The Porto Municipal Police are deploying teams throughout the city 24 hours a day, broadcasting messages that encourage people to return home and take appropriate measures to protect themselves from the virus. Let's hope as well that they have guitars in there at some point. There's a little bit of light relief. I don't know if you saw that video of Spanish police roaring into town with the blues and twos on the go, looking like it was an emergency. They screech to a halt, they jump out, and then they play music. They've got a guitar in a boot, and they serenade some of the locals to rapturous applause, which was a nice bit of light relief. And who knows, the Portuguese police might do that, but they may have to stay off the fado at these times. Might need to be something a little bit more uplifting. No offense to anyone who's a fado fan. Motorway traffic throughout Portugal is reported to have dropped by 75% in recent days. It's incredible, isn't it? As more of the population is staying at home and off the roads. That's a portugalnews.com story. Go to portugalnews.com for that and other sources of information. They've really raised their game in recent times, as have the Portugal resident, Algarve resident. Non-urgent cases have been suspended due to the coronavirus pandemic in the courts as well, which is, I'm sure, will come as a relief to some people. The Chinese government, not lawyers, of course, the Chinese government, along with some Chinese companies, are donating large amounts of equipment to Portugal. These include ventilators, monitors, medical masks, suits, and goggles. Just such an interesting irony there, isn't there? And I wonder if Donald Trump will succumb to allowing Chinese assistance at some point. Hopefully that will be a blow to his terrible pride. But there I go, opinionating again. A movement to support those on the front line is asking members of the public to show their support by displaying the Portugal flag on their windows or balconies. I think like the World Cup again. Excuse me. A release from the movement says, although many Portuguese are at home with their loved ones, there are others who are in their workplaces providing all citizens with essential goods, providing healthcare, transport, defending public interest, safety, and also to communicate the relevant information about COVID-19 to the whole country. They suggest that by flying the flags, we can pass on a message of thanks and gratitude for all those who do their best. Where's mine? I've got my Portuguese flag somewhere. It's up on the shelf over there. I should put that on my desk for tomorrow. Having served for 36 years in law enforcement, this is going back to Craig, whose post this is. I'm keenly aware of the sacrifices that have to be made by those working in essential services. Whilst many of us are able to self-isolate and minimize our exposure, those in essential services put themselves at risk every day. Safe Communities Portugal is reporting that the PSP, the police, reported complications in delivering policing services, as they now have 6 infections and 250 officers in quarantine. Goodness. The GNR reported that it has 2 confirmed cases of the COVID-19. The impact on health services is likely to be worse. It is incumbent on all of us to do our parts so that we do not place any undue burdens on the essential services. Yeah. And let's get out on our balconies. I'm not sure anyone can hear me from mine, but whenever I can, I'm showing my appreciation to the health services, and as well as the applause. How about we give them a pay rise as well? Okay, let's see that, because I'm sure it's really great that they get a pay rise, get applause and acknowledgement each evening, but they need some money as well. They need more money than they get. And I was thinking, maybe politicians and health workers could swap their pay levels at the moment. But let's not be petty about that, or whataboutist about that. Let's just give them what they need, for heaven's sakes. Without argument or too much difficulty and bureaucracy. Give the people who are giving other people care and risking their lives a blooming good pay rise, so they just don't have to worry about that stuff in the background. Don't need that right now. It's unnecessary. Anyway, sorry, I am opinionating a lot this morning. And Craig here says he'd like to conclude on a positive note by reposting a reassuring comment that was shared yesterday by a doctor working in Porto's Hospital São João. Numbers can and certainly will change during the following 2 or 3 weeks. But as a doctor working at Hospital São João, I'd like to say that all possible measures have already been taken to deal with the coming tsunami in the best possible way, including cancellation of all routine non-urgent surgeries in order to maximize the availability of ICU beds, equipment, especially ventilators and staff, rescheduling of all non-urgent outpatient consultations or making them by phone in order to prevent people to enter the hospital and get or spread the virus, reassigning different areas of the hospital in order to increase normal bed availability, mandatory use of masks for everyone entering the hospital, mainly in order to prevent spread of virus to others, and mandatory hand disinfection for everyone when entering the hospital. Whenever possible, staff members use remote access to work from home. Last not least, Hospital São João has brilliant infectiology, pneumology, intensive medicine and anesthesiology departments, not to mention others, that will no doubt assure state-of-the-art assistance to everyone. I'm totally comfortable in saying this because I don't belong to any of those departments. Wonderful. So a vote of confidence from the health service there. And Craig finishes by saying he's not a health expert, but he give us an excellent excellent briefing and update there, Craig. Thank you very much for that in Porto Expats. If you want to get that direct, go there. So as I say, do please use this as an interchange to talk to other people across the country. Share your messages. Good morning to you, Owen. Share your messages, share your requests. Let us know how you're feeling as well. Towards the end of the show, it's fine, to air your woes. That we need it. We need to. Some people need a place to speak. For some people, this could be the only outlet they have, or a little bit of sociability if they're locked down alone. So let's be their virtual community as well. So I love it that people are coming on and saying good morning or bon dia to me. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Owen. And perhaps if there's nothing more to add, let's keep this brief so that I can get it onto the YouTube channel as well and out on the podcast for people who prefer it as an audio rather than video. Those perhaps with accessibility issues, it is also a podcast. So I'll be here. I'll keep being here at 9 in the morning. Hope you can join me as well. And during the day, we are on Stay Positive Portugal, where yesterday I was inviting people to share pictures of their growing. We literally made a strawberry bed yesterday out of an old mattress, a straw mattress, would you believe, that was in the house here. It now has holes cut in it and strawberries planted in it. So that we've got a nice little bit of a treat for us and the kids as this good weather improves and brings excellent growing conditions to Portugal. Please do send in pictures of your growing to Stay Positive Portugal. And yes, let's meet here again tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Good work. Thanks, says Barbara. Thank you, Barbara. Thanks for showing up here, and see you all again tomorrow. Cheers, Owen. Thanks to you as well. And I'm sure Owen will come on and join me one day. Very simple. I just share a link, send a link to you, or put it in the comments there, and you can cut and paste it, and then click on the link, and you're on the screen with me talking about your part of Portugal or anything else that you want to talk about that you think might be helpful in these extraordinary times that we're living in. Take good care, everyone, and bye for now. See you tomorrow. Até logo. Até amanhã.